We live in a world that worships more. More success, more possessions, more opportunities, more commitments. But more does not always mean better. In fact, chasing more often leaves us with less. Less clarity, less energy, less fulfillment. The essentialist lives differently. Instead of asking, "How can I do it all?" they ask, "What is truly essential?" Instead of adding more to their lives, they subtract. Instead of scattering their energy in every direction, they focus it like a laser. Essentialism is not about doing less for the sake of laziness. It is about doing less so you can do better. It is about focusing on what truly matters and letting go of everything else. The burden of more. Most people live as non-essentialists. They say yes to every request, every invitation, every opportunity, out of fear of missing out or disappointing others. Their calendars fill. Their inboxes overflow. Their minds become cluttered. And in the chaos of too much, they lose sight of what actually matters. The non-essentialist is busy but not productive. Exhausted but not fulfilled. Always moving but not moving forward. This is the burden of more. The essentialist way. The essentialist lives with intention. They know that life is short, energy is limited, and time cannot be reclaimed. So they focus only on the few things that make the biggest impact. They are not scattered but centered. They are not pulled in every direction but aligned. They are not overwhelmed but purposeful. Where the non-essentialist tries to do everything, the essentialist does the right things. Where the non-essentialist says yes by default, the essentialist says no by default, unless it is truly essential. This is not selfishness. It is wisdom. It is stewardship of your most valuable resource, your life. Why less creates more? It may sound paradoxical, but doing less creates more. By focusing on fewer tasks, you produce higher quality work. By focusing on fewer relationships, you build deeper connections. By focusing on fewer goals, you achieve more meaningful success. When your energy is scattered, it weakens. When your energy is concentrated, it multiplies. Like sunlight through a magnifying glass, focus creates fire. Essentialism is the discipline of focusing your life until it burns bright with purpose. A story of essentialism. There was once a businessman who chased every opportunity that came his way. He started projects, partnerships, investments, but none succeeded. He was always busy but always broke. One day a mentor told him, "Stop scattering yourself. Choose one thing and pour everything into it." At first he resisted. What about all the other possibilities? What if he missed out? But finally he chose one business idea and gave it his full energy. In time it grew into a thriving company. And from that single focus, he gained the wealth and freedom he had once tried to chase everywhere. He discovered the truth: success is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters most. The essentialist question. At the heart of essentialism lies one simple question. Is this the most important use of my time and energy right now? If the answer is no, the essentialist lets it go. If the answer is yes, the essentialist commits fully. This question cuts through noise and distraction. It is the compass that guides the essentialist's life. Living intentionally. Essentialism is not an accident. It is a conscious choice. It is choosing to design your life instead of drifting through it. The non-essentialist says, "I have no choice." The essentialist says, "I always have a choice." The non-essentialist reacts to life. The essentialist directs life. This shift of mindset is where essentialism begins. Your declaration. Say this to yourself now. I choose to live as an essentialist. I will no longer chase everything and achieve nothing. I will focus on what truly matters. I will subtract the trivial many and pour myself into the vital few. Less but better. This is the way I will live. This is the first step on the journey, the way of the essentialist. It is the foundation of a life of focus, clarity, and purpose. Chapter 2. The Trap of Non-Essentialism. Most people do not choose non-essentialism. They drift into it. They absorb it from the culture around them. They are taught from childhood that the path to success is to do more, achieve more, be more. And so, they say yes to everything. Yes to every invitation. Yes to every request. Yes to every opportunity, no matter how small. At first, it feels rewarding. It feels like progress. But slowly the weight of yes becomes unbearable, and they find themselves trapped in a life of busyness without meaning. This is the trap of non-essentialism, the culture of more. We live in a world that glorifies busyness. If you are always busy, people assume you are important. If your calendar is full, they assume you are successful. If your phone never stops buzzing, they assume you are in demand. But busyness is not success. Busyness is often distraction in disguise. Busyness is a badge of the non-essentialist. The essentialist does not seek to do more. They seek to do what matters. Fear of missing out. One of the strongest chains of non-essentialism is fear of missing out, FOMO. We say yes because we fear that if we say no, we will miss the one chance, the one opportunity, the one connection that could change everything. But here is the irony. In saying yes to everything, we miss out on the few things that truly matter. By chasing every possibility, we end up exhausted, scattered, and empty. The essentialist knows. Missing out on the trivial many is the price of focusing on the vital few. The pressure to please. Another trap is the fear of disappointing others. We say yes because we do not want to seem selfish, rude, or unhelpful. We allow others to write our schedules, control our priorities, and consume our energy. But in saying yes to others, we often say no to ourselves, no to our values, our goals, our well-being. The essentialist has the courage to disappoint others in order to remain true to what matters most. The illusion of I can do it all. The non-essentialist believes they can do it all. They try to juggle too many commitments, too many projects, too many goals. They believe more effort will eventually solve the problem. But no matter how hard they work, there are always more demands than hours in the day. The harder they try to do everything, the less they succeed at anything. The truth is clear, you cannot do it all. And trying to do it all guarantees mediocrity. The essentialist chooses differently. They focus only on what matters most, and they let go of the rest. The weight of yes. Every yes carries a cost. When you say yes to one thing, you are saying no to something else. But the non-essentialist ignores this truth. They say yes as if time and energy were infinite. Over time, the weight of yes becomes crushing. They lose sleep. They lose clarity. They lose control of their own lives. The essentialist remembers, every yes must be weighed carefully because every yes is also a no. A story of non-essentialism. There was once a young professional who wanted to succeed in his career. So he said yes to every project, every meeting, every request. At first, his bosses admired his enthusiasm. But soon his work began to suffer. Deadlines were missed. Quality declined. Stress consumed him. Instead of being known for excellence, he became known for being overwhelmed. Only when he learned to say no, to choose fewer projects, and to focus deeply on what mattered, did his career truly begin to thrive. Non-essentialism had trapped him, but essentialism set him free. Breaking free from the trap. The first step to essentialism is awareness. You must see the trap of non-essentialism clearly. You must recognize how busyness, fear, and people-pleasing are stealing your life. Ask yourself, am I doing this because it is essential, or because I fear missing out? Am I saying yes because it matters, or because I am afraid to disappoint? Am I filling my life with activity, or am I focusing on what brings true value? When you begin to ask these questions, the chains of non-essentialism start to break. Your declaration. Say this to yourself now. I will no longer be trapped by busyness, fear, and people-pleasing. I will not say yes to everything. I will say yes only to what matters most. I choose essentialism over non-essentialism. I choose freedom over chaos. This is the second step on the journey, seeing and escaping the trap of non-essentialism. It is the recognition that not everything is worth your time, and that focus requires courage. Chapter 3, The Power of Choice. Life is full of noise. Every day, countless voices demand your attention. Emails, notifications, obligations, expectations. It is easy to believe you are powerless, that you must respond, comply, obey. But here is the truth. You always have a choice. Choice is your greatest power. It is the steering wheel of your life. Yet most people hand that wheel to others. They allow bosses, friends, family, and culture to decide for them. The essentialist refuses to surrender this power. They reclaim their right to choose, to decide what matters and what does not. Choice is freedom. The non-essentialist says, I have to. The essentialist says, I choose to. This difference may seem small, but it changes everything. When you say, I have to, you place yourself in chains. You become a victim. When you say, I choose to, you reclaim ownership of your life. You become free. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility. It is the presence of conscious choice. The myth of no choice. Many people live as if they have no choice. They say, I have to attend this meeting. I can't say no to my boss. I must keep this commitment. But in reality, every action is a choice. You may choose to attend the meeting because you value your job. You may choose to follow your boss's request because you want to maintain trust. You may choose to keep a commitment because you value integrity. But these are still choices. And once you recognize them as choices, you regain control. The cost of giving away choice. When you live as though you have no choice, you live someone else's life. You drift according to the demands of others. You chase their priorities, not yours. You sacrifice your purpose for their approval. This is the tragedy of non-essentialism. A life wasted in service of the trivial because the power of choice was surrendered. The essentialist refuses this. They know that saying yes to one thing always means saying no to another. So they guard their choices carefully. The essentialist discipline. Essentialism is not about making more choices. It is about making fewer choices, but better ones. The essentialist disciplines themselves to pause before reacting. Instead of automatically saying yes, they ask, does this align with my highest purpose? Is this the best use of my limited energy? If I say yes, what am I saying no to? This discipline transforms ordinary choices into powerful acts of alignment. The courage to own your life. Reclaiming choice requires courage. It means you will sometimes disappoint others. It means you will resist cultural pressure to be busy, available, and agreeable. But without courage, you will live a borrowed life. With courage, you will live your own. Owning your life is not selfish. It is responsible. Because only by living true to yourself can you offer your best to the world. A story of choice. There was once a woman offered a high-paying job in a prestigious company. Everyone told her she should take it. The salary was impressive. The title was respected. But deep down, she knew it would consume her life and keep her from her real passion, writing. At first she felt trapped. She thought, I have no choice. I must take it. I can't turn down this opportunity. But then she realized she always had a choice. She could choose wealth or she could choose meaning. With courage, she declined the offer. Instead, she pursued her writing full-time. Years later, her books touched millions of lives. By reclaiming her power of choice, she created a life of impact and joy. Your power today. Think of an area in your life where you feel trapped. Where do you say, I have no choice? Now shift your words. I choose to stay in this job because. I choose to commit to this project because. I choose to spend my time here because. Or perhaps, I choose not to. This small shift reveals your freedom. Your declaration. Say this to yourself now. I always have a choice. I am not a victim of demands, culture, or fear. I reclaim my power to choose what matters most. Every yes will be intentional. Every no will be courageous. I will own my life by owning my choices. This is the third step of the essentialist journey, the power of choice. Once you reclaim your choice, you are no longer at the mercy of others. You begin to design your life with clarity and freedom. Chapter 4, Discernment. Every day you are flooded with choices, opportunities, requests, demands. Some are important. Most are not. But here is the challenge. The trivial often looks urgent. The essential often whispers quietly in the background. Without discernment, you end up chasing noise and neglecting meaning. With discernment, you separate the vital few from the trivial many. Discernment is the skill that makes essentialism possible. It is the ability to see clearly what matters most. The world without discernment. Most people rush through life reacting. Their inbox dings, they check it immediately. Their phone buzzes, they drop everything to respond. Someone asks for their time, they give it without thought. They confuse urgency with importance. They assume that because something is loud, it must be valuable. And so, they spend their days in shallow tasks while their true priorities starve. This is life without discernment. The essentialist lens. The essentialist views the world through a different lens. They pause. They reflect. They ask questions. Does this align with my deepest values? Will this move me closer to my long-term vision? If I could do only one thing today, would it be this? Through these questions, they filter out the noise and see the few things that truly matter. The law of trade-offs. Every choice is a trade-off. Saying yes to one thing means saying no to another. The non-essentialist tries to ignore this truth. They say yes to everything, pretending trade-offs don't exist. But reality cannot be cheated. Their quality, energy, and focus decline. The essentialist embraces trade-offs. They ask, which problem do I want to solve? Which opportunity deserves my energy? Which relationship matters most? By choosing consciously, they gain clarity and peace. The 90% rule. One practical tool of discernment is the 90% rule. When evaluating an option, ask, on a scale of 0 to 100, how important is this to me? If the answer is less than 90, treat it as a 0. This sounds extreme, but it is powerful. It forces you to commit only to the very best opportunities, not the average or good ones. Remember, good is the enemy of great. Mediocrity crowds out excellence. A story of discernment. A successful investor once said, the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. One entrepreneur learned this lesson the hard way. At first, he pursued every opportunity that looked promising. Partnerships, side projects, networking events, he filled his calendar with activity. But his business stalled. His energy was divided. Finally, he stepped back and asked, what one opportunity has the greatest potential to change everything? He focused on that single path. Within years, it became the foundation of his fortune. Discernment transforms scattered effort into focused achievement. The noise of the trivial many. The trivial many often disguise themselves as important. They come as urgent emails, quick favors, can't-miss events. But the essentialist learns to see through the disguise. They ask, if I ignore this, will it really matter in the long run? Most of the time the answer is no. Discernment is not about being cold or dismissive. It is about being wise with your finite life. Discernment in relationships. Discernment also applies to people. Not every relationship deserves equal energy. Some people drain you. Some people distract you. Some people align with your values and bring out your best. The essentialist invests deeply in the vital few relationships that truly matter, instead of scattering attention across the trivial many. Developing discernment. Discernment is a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it grows. Here are ways to develop it. Pause before responding. Do not commit immediately. Ask clarifying questions. What is the real value here? Use long-term perspective. Will this matter in 5 years? Trust your intuition. Often your gut knows what is essential. Review your priorities often. Keep your compass aligned. With practice, discernment becomes natural. Your declaration. Say this to yourself now. I will not be ruled by urgency or noise. I will sharpen my discernment. I will choose the vital few and ignore the trivial many. My time and energy are precious, and I will spend them only where they truly matter. This is the fourth step of essentialism. Discernment. It is the art of seeing clearly, of choosing wisely, of filtering out the noise to find the signal. Chapter 5. The courage to say no. One of the hardest words in the world to say is also one of the most powerful. No. We fear it. We avoid it. We soften it. We disguise it. But every yes that isn't essential steals time, energy, and focus from what truly matters. And the only way to protect your priorities is to have the courage to say no. Why saying no feels hard? From childhood, many of us are trained to please. We are told to be agreeable, polite, and accommodating. We fear that saying no will make others upset, disappointed, or even angry. So we say yes when we mean no. We smile while silently resenting. We agree outwardly while regretting inwardly. But every false yes is a betrayal, not only of ourselves but also of the work and relationships that truly matter. Yes has a cost. Every yes carries a hidden cost. When you say yes to an unnecessary meeting, you say no to deep work. When you say yes to a draining commitment, you say no to rest and renewal. When you say yes to someone else's priorities, you say no to your own. The essentialist recognizes this truth. They understand that protecting the vital few requires refusing the trivial many. The essentialists know. The essentialist says no with grace but also with firmness. They know that saying no is not rude, it is responsible. It is a statement of priorities. Their no may sound like this. Thank you for thinking of me, but I can't commit right now. I'm honored, but I need to focus on other priorities. This doesn't align with where I'm putting my energy right now. Notice, the tone is polite but the boundary is clear. The courage behind no. Saying no requires courage because it invites discomfort. Others may pressure you. They may guilt you. They may misunderstand you. But remember this, every time you say yes to something non-essential, you are saying no to something essential. Which pain would you rather endure, the short discomfort of saying no, or the lasting regret of betraying your purpose? The essentialist chooses the short discomfort. Story of saying no. There was once an author invited to countless conferences, interviews, and collaborations. At first he said yes to everything. But soon his writing, the very thing that mattered most, suffered. So he made a bold choice. He began to say no to almost every request. People were shocked. Some were offended. But he kept writing. And his books reached millions. By saying no to the trivial many, he said yes to the work that truly mattered. No protects your yes. Think of no not as rejection but as protection. Every no protects a yes. Every no shields your highest priorities. When you say no to distractions, you say yes to focus. When you say no to people-pleasing, you say yes to authenticity. When you say no to busyness, you say yes to peace. Your no gives strength to your yes. Practical ways to say no. Pause first. Don't commit immediately. Buy time with, let me check my schedule. Keep it short. A long explanation invites negotiation. A brief no is stronger. Be kind, not apologetic. Respect the other person but stand firm. Offer an alternative if appropriate. I can't join, but here's someone who might help. Practice. The more you say no, the easier it becomes. Your declaration. Say this to yourself now. I will no longer betray my purpose by saying yes when I mean no. I will protect my priorities with courage. My no will be firm, my yes will be rare, and my life will reflect what truly matters. This is the fifth step of essentialism, the courage to say no. It is the shield that protects your energy and the gate that guards your time. Chapter 6, Designing Your Life. Essentialism is not just about making better choices. It is about building a life where the essential happens by design, not by accident. Too many people live reactively. They drift from one demand to the next, constantly reacting to other people's priorities. But the essentialist designs their life deliberately, shaping routines, environments, and systems that protect what matters most. Design is freedom. It is how you create a life aligned with your values and insulated from distraction. Living by default versus living by design. The non-essentialist lives by default. Their days are filled by other people's agendas, endless notifications, and random opportunities. Their schedule reflects chaos, not clarity. The essentialist lives by design. They decide in advance what matters. They create systems that reinforce those decisions. They design environments that make the right choices easy and the wrong choices hard. Life by default is accidental. Life by design is intentional. The power of routine. Routines are the backbone of an essentialist life. They reduce decision fatigue. They free mental energy. They make essential behavior automatic. Think of successful athletes, writers, or entrepreneurs. They do not rely on willpower alone. They build routines that carry them forward, even on days when motivation is weak. The essentialist asks, what daily practices will make my essential goals inevitable? Then they design routines around them. Environment shapes behavior. Your environment silently influences every choice you make. If your phone is always within reach, you will check it. If your workspace is cluttered, your mind will be distracted. If your schedule is open to everyone will fill it. The essentialist redesigns their environment. They remove distractions. They create spaces that inspire focus. They place reminders of their highest priorities where they can see them daily. Small environmental changes create massive results. Systems over willpower. Non-essentialists rely on willpower. They believe they can resist distraction through sheer discipline. But willpower is limited. It weakens with fatigue. The essentialist builds systems. Instead of fighting distraction, they eliminate it. Instead of relying on memory, they create habits and reminders. Instead of depending on self-control, they design automatic structures that make success the default. Systems are stronger than willpower. A story of life by design. There was once a writer who struggled to finish his book. Every day he sat down to write, but distractions stole his focus. Emails, calls, small errands. One day he changed his approach. He designed a simple system. Every morning he turned off his phone. He locked himself in a quiet room for 3 hours. He committed to writing just 1 page per session. Within months the book was complete. Not because of sudden inspiration but because of deliberate design. Essentialism is not about random bursts of focus. It is about creating conditions where focus is inevitable. Protecting your time. Designing your life means protecting your calendar as fiercely as your wallet. The non-essentialist lets anyone add to their schedule. The essentialist treats time as sacred. They block out hours for essential work, rest, and relationships. They say no to intrusions no matter how small. Every yes to a request is a redesign of your life. Choose carefully. Design for rest and renewal. Essentialism is not only about work. It is also about rest. Without rest, creativity withers. Without renewal, energy fades. Without silence, clarity disappears. The essentialist designs time for sleep, reflection, and play. They understand that rest is not wasted time, it is essential fuel. Practical steps to design your life. Identify your essentials. What matters most to you? Write them down. Block time. Schedule the essentials first. Let everything else fit around them. Simplify your environment. Remove distractions, clutter, and noise. Automate and delegate. Free your time from repetitive, non-essential tasks. Review weekly. Ask, is my life reflecting my priorities or drifting away from them? Design is not a one-time act. It is a continual refinement. Your declaration. Say this to yourself now. I will not live by default. I will live by design. I will create routines that serve me, environments that focus me, and systems that protect me. My life will reflect my values because I will design it to. This is the 6th step of essentialism. Designing your life. It is the shift from drifting to directing, from reaction to creation. Chapter 7, Flow and Simplicity. Essentialism is not just about eliminating the trivial. It is about creating a life that flows. A life where energy moves smoothly, work feels lighter, and simplicity replaces struggle. Flow and simplicity are the rewards of essentialism. They transform effort into ease and chaos into clarity. The beauty of simplicity. The non-essentialist complicates everything. They add layers of tasks, commitments, and distractions. Their lives feel heavy, tangled, and exhausting. The essentialist seeks simplicity. They remove what is unnecessary. They strip life down to its core, leaving only what matters. Simplicity is not emptiness. It is elegance. It is focus. It is freedom. Flow happens when you focus. Flow is the state of deep engagement, when you lose track of time because you are absorbed in meaningful work. It happens when challenge meets skill, when your energy is undivided. But flow cannot exist in chaos. It requires space. It requires clarity. It requires the discipline of essentialism. When you cut away the trivial many, you create the conditions for flow. The joy of doing less better. The non-essentialist asks, how can I do more? The essentialist asks, how can I do less but better? The shift changes everything. Instead of rushing through dozens of shallow tasks, the essentialist pours energy into a few deep ones. Instead of chasing quantity, they pursue quality. And in this pursuit they find joy. There is joy in mastering one skill deeply instead of dabbling in many. There is joy in nurturing a few deep relationships instead of scattering energy across many shallow ones. There is joy in doing less and doing it well. A story of simplicity and flow. There was once a designer overwhelmed with projects. She worked late nights, accepted every client, and burned herself out. Her work suffered, her health declined, and her passion faded. Finally, she chose a different path. She simplified her life. She chose fewer clients, aligned with her values. She focused on one type of design she loved most. Soon her work improved. Her energy returned. And she began to enter flow, hours passing unnoticed as she immersed herself in creation. By doing less, she created better work. By simplifying, she rediscovered joy. Simplicity in daily living. Simplicity is not just about work, it is about life. A simple schedule creates more peace than a crowded one. A simple room creates more clarity than a cluttered one. A simple goal creates more focus than a long list. Simplicity does not diminish life. It amplifies it. The essentialist asks, what can I remove? What can I simplify? And in removing they gain freedom. Why we resist simplicity. Many resist simplicity because they believe complexity equals importance. They fear that if life is too simple, it must be small or unambitious. But the opposite is true. Complexity wastes energy. Simplicity channels energy. And energy, when channeled, creates greatness. The most powerful ideas are simple. The most impactful lives are simple. Practical steps for flow and simplicity. Clear your space. Remove clutter from your desk, home, and mind. Limit your goals. Focus on one or two key objectives at a time. Batch your tasks. Group similar work together to reduce friction. Eliminate friction. Remove obstacles that block your focus. Protect flow time. Block hours for deep, uninterrupted work. Flow is not an accident, it is designed through simplicity. The peace of essential living. The reward of essentialism is not just achievement, it is peace. Peace of mind. Peace of schedule. Peace of soul. The essentialist's life is not frantic but flowing. Not cluttered but clear. Not complicated but simple. This peace is what gives them strength, joy, and resilience. Your declaration. Say this to yourself now. I will embrace simplicity. I will not confuse complexity with importance. I will do less but better. I will create the conditions for flow by removing clutter and distraction. My life will be lighter, clearer, and filled with joy. This is the seventh step of essentialism. Flow and simplicity. It is the transformation of effort into ease, of clutter into clarity, of chaos into peace. Chapter 8, Living as an Essentialist. Essentialism is not just a strategy. It is not a productivity hack or a temporary fix. It is a way of life. To live as an essentialist is to embrace clarity, simplicity, and purpose every day. It is to reject the noise of the world and align yourself with what matters most. It is to choose less but better, again and again. This is not easy, but it is worth everything. The essentialist mindset. Living as an essentialist begins with mindset. The non-essentialist thinks, I have to do it all. The essentialist thinks, I choose what matters most. The non-essentialist asks, how can I fit more in? The essentialist asks, what can I remove? The non-essentialist seeks approval. The essentialist seeks alignment. This mindset shift is the foundation of an essentialist life. Essentialism as a daily practice. Essentialism is not a one-time decision. It is a practice, a discipline you return to daily. Each morning the essentialist asks, what is essential today? What will I give my best energy to? What will I remove to protect what matters most? These small, daily choices shape a life of purpose. The ripple effect of essentialism. When you live as an essentialist, your life changes. But not only your life, the lives of those around you. Your work becomes more impactful. Your relationships become deeper. Your presence becomes calmer. Others will notice. They may even follow your example. Essentialism is contagious. When you choose what matters most, you give others permission to do the same. The courage to be different. Living as an essentialist means standing against the culture of more. It means being willing to disappoint some in order to be true to yourself. It means choosing depth over breadth, meaning over approval, and focus over frenzy. This requires courage. but it also brings freedom. The freedom to live aligned with your values. The freedom to pursue what matters. The freedom to say no without guilt. A story of essentialist living. There was once a father who realized his life was consumed by endless work commitments. He was successful on paper, but his children barely knew him. One day he chose essentialism. He cut unnecessary meetings. He stopped chasing status. He redesigned his schedule to prioritize family dinners and weekend adventures. At first, colleagues mocked him for slowing down. But years later, he had not only maintained a successful career, but also built a strong, loving family. He proved that success without essentialism is empty, but success with essentialism is rich in every sense. Sustaining essentialism. To live as an essentialist long-term, you must sustain it. Reflect often. Revisit your priorities regularly. Simplify continuously. Keep cutting away what doesn't matter. Rest deeply. Protect your energy so you can give your best. Reconnect with purpose. Remind yourself why you chose this path. Essentialism is not perfection, it is progress. It is the ongoing art of keeping life aligned with what matters most. The reward of essentialism. What do you gain by living as an essentialist? Clarity instead of confusion. Peace instead of chaos. Impact instead of busyness. Joy instead of exhaustion. You gain a life that is lighter, clearer, more focused, and more meaningful. This is the ultimate reward. A life that truly reflects your highest values. Your declaration. Say this to yourself now. I will live as an essentialist. I will not drift with the culture of more. I will choose less but better. I will protect my focus, my time, and my energy. I will design my life around what truly matters. Essentialism is not something I do, it is who I am. Closing words. You now know the path of the essentialist. The way of the essentialist. The trap of non-essentialism. The power of choice. Discernment. The courage to say no. Designing your life. Flow and simplicity. Living as an essentialist. These are not just chapters. They are steps on a journey, your journey. The world will always tempt you with more. But true success comes from less. Less but better. This is the way of the essentialist.